Hi guys, my name is V and welcome to my book nook. So in today's video, we are going to be ranking all the books that I've read this year. So this year I've read a total of 32 books and I'll put up the stats of all the different genres that I read, and I'm going to try and rank them from the worst book to my favorite book of the year. It's kind of hard though because it's so hard to just objectively say, this book was my number one book. I don't know if anything really, stands out like that. I mean, I have my favorites. I think top 10 will be kind of easier to do. But number one, I'm curious to see what that's going to be. So get comfortable, grab a cup of coffee, and let's get started. I actually should have brought all the books with me, but I didn't because, 32 books for me to carry. I'm being lazy, guys. So when I say the worst book though, I'm not saying it's the worst book I've ever read. It's just the worst from this year. And I must say, we've had a very good reading year this year. Number 32, we have Spectacular by Stephanie Garber. So this year I read the entire Caraval trilogy and I reread the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy. And Spectacular was like this Christmas novella that was out. I personally didn't really like it, and that is why it's 32. I don't think it's a bad book at all. It just wasn't my favorite this year. Next, which is surprising, this is surprising even to me, is Problematic Summer Romance by Ali Hazelwood. This might come as a surprise because I'm a big Ali Hazelwood girl. It's just this specific book, I didn't really like the tropes, which is on me. I should have known better. I did enjoy the characters and the settings, and all of that was just really good. It's just personally, this was just not one of my favorite books. Next, we have Four Ruined Realms by Mike Holland. So, Four Ruined Realms is the second book in a trilogy. I'm pretty sure the third book came out a couple weeks ago. And the only reason that it ended up not being as enjoyable as the first book is because it felt a bit repetitive. I read this a while ago, but I remember a lot of it's multi-point of view, right? But the characters' point of view kind of started to blend together a little bit, and it was hard to differentiate them. So I ended up not having the best reading experience. Number 29, we have The Boyfriend by Frida McFadden. So the plot twist in this book was amazing. I will tell you that much. It was a very fast-paced book. The reason why I ended up not having the best reading experience with it was our main character. I think her name was Sydney. Don't have the book on me right now to check, but I think her name was Sydney. The way that character was so frustrating, like the amount of red flags that she ignored. It ended up making the book a little bit difficult to read. That affected my reading experience. Next up, we have When in Rome by Sarah Adams. Oh, I enjoyed this one. It was just so cute. It was a small town romance. It was the first in an interconnected standalone series, and I really, really enjoyed this one. It was, if I'm not mistaken, this one is pop star, and her car breaks down in the small town, and then the yard that her car breaks down in, she ends up having to stay in this guy's house because it's like this really small town and her car needs to be fixed, and she's kind of running away from her whole life, and it was cute. It was really cute. Next up, 27, we have First Time Caller. Now, I really enjoyed First Time Caller. That was such a cute book. The only reason why I didn't enjoy it more was I didn't really like our male main character, which in a romance, that's gonna bring a rating down a little bit, but it was really cute, really good book. It had that really, like when you watch a rom-com movie, it has those rom-com vibes. Were great. 26 is Legendary by Stephanie Garber. Oh, the Caraval series was so nice. I know so many people were like, no, they're not going to read it. They're just going to read Once Upon a Broken Heart, and they, skipped it. And I was one of those people. I only read the Caraval series now, but it was such a good series. I really enjoyed it. I loved Caraval, like the whole setting of it, and Legendary was nice. 25 is Finale. I enjoyed it better because I like Scarlett more than Tella, and in Finale, we got Scarlett's point of view more. 24 is Bride by Ali Hazelwood. Bride was such a fun book. I really enjoyed it. It was just, the mystery was so nice, and just everything about it was just so, it was typical Ali Hazelwood. It's just we have wolves now and vampires. Next is The Bodyguard by Catherine Center. This was my first Catherine Center book, and it was so nice. It was perfect. I think she has such a good balance in her books because her books are like it has the rom-com vibes, but at the same time, it still has so much of substance, very cute. I just really enjoyed that. On this list, there's just so many books. Next is Powerless. So Powerless is number 22 on our rankings. Powerless was good. I enjoyed it, but Powerless was a reread for me, which ended up putting down the ranking, like compared to the other books I read this year. I think if I had to rate it last year, it would have been like top 15, but it just on a reread, it was a little bit slower and sluggish, and some of the flaws kind of stood out more. And then 21 is Reckless. I think people hated on Reckless more than they needed to. It wasn't anything groundbreaking, but I think it was exactly what we signed up for, Kai and Payton. And as a filler book, I thought it was still good and entertaining, even if the plot wasn't the most center focus of the book. So number 20, we have Five Broken Blades. I really enjoyed this one. For a fantasy book, this was such a nice fantasy book. I think it was so refreshing to read, and the points of views, the backgrounds, everything about this was just so amazing. If you're a fantasy person and you want to break from the typical romantasy books, this one is really good. Next, 19, we have Caraval. Caraval from that whole trilogy was my favorite book. I really enjoyed the setting and all of that. That book had plot twists. I think compared to the other two, I was quite flabbergasted at some of the turns we took, because I wasn't expecting it to be that kind of a book. I'm trying to rapid fire these guys because we have so many books to go through, and I want to give you a brief, why am I putting it here, and tell you a little bit what it's about, but there's just so many books to go through. Number 18 is Practice Makes Perfect. I really like this one. This is the second book in the When in Rome series. Great book. It was so cute. I really like in this series, I really like the town that it's set in. It's just such a cute, cozy town, and I really like it. Next, we have A Curse for True Love. This is the third book in Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy. It wasn't bad. Again, the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy was a reread for me. I really liked it. It's just, from the series, this is my least favorite book, but it's still like a 4-star for me. It was just really, really nice. Betread is number 15. My first Emily Henry book. I loved Betread. Like, something so real about the characters in Betread. Like, sometimes when you read a book, right, sometimes the characters can come across a little bit two-dimensional, or where their flaws are, like, they have one main flaw and that's it, like Betread, I felt the characters were so realistic, so relatable. I just really enjoyed it, the setting and quite everything about it. And I read it when I was on a holiday, so, perfect. Betread. Next, we have The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. This is okay, 14 is not low, guys. I really enjoyed The Housemaid. It's just that I read one other book by Frida, which you'll see, that I ended up liking a little bit more because of the plot twists. So it's one of the better thrillers that I've read, and it really kept me on the edge of my seat. I really, really did enjoy that one. 13 is Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood. To my surprise, people really didn't like this one. Like, most people say this is like their least favorite Ali Hazelwood book. So I went in, I guess, with kind of lower expectations, and I ended up really enjoying this one. I think one of the big things for me was our female main character, Rue. She was such a relatable character for me, which enhanced my reading experience quite a bit. So, and I love anything in a STEM setting. Love that. Then number 12, we have Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton. This is a memoir by Dolly Alderton, and I really, really appreciated this book so much. It taught me so much, especially about, valuing your female friendships, and I just love this book. Great book. I think this was like I read very few non-fictions, but this one was one of the few that managed to keep my attention. 11 is Beg, Borrow or Steal by Sarah Adams. This is the third book in the When in Rome series, and this was my favorite from the series. I really enjoyed the characters. The banter between them was really good. Emily as a character was, again, very relatable, and this one was great. Top 10, guys. We're into the top 10. So this is a very recent read for me. I finished this like a day ago. I'm currently reading Crown of Midnight, which is book 2. So number 10, we have Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. I have yet to read the Throne of Glass series. This is the first time that I'm reading it. I know it's surprising. It's just that it was so intimidating to me how long the series was. And honestly, I regret not reading it sooner. It is so good so far. I mean, Throne of Glass, from what I know, people say this is like the worst book in that series, but I enjoyed it so much. And Crown of Midnight is so much better. I'm like 70% done, and I'm so enjoying it so much, so much. Number 9, we have Once Upon a Broken Heart, the first book in the trilogy. So Once Upon a Broken Heart is very whimsical. It is so magical. The setting, the characters are so amazing. There's just something so sweet about this book. It has a special place in my heart. It's one of my favorite fantasy series that I've read. Number 8, we have All This Twisted Glory by Tahira Mafi. So this is the third book in the Swoven Kingdom series. We'll get to book 1 and 2. They are higher up on this list, but this is the third book. The only reason why I didn't enjoy it as much was not as much happened, and it didn't stick with me as much as the first two did. But still, I ended up giving it like a 4.5 stars because I just really enjoyed it. Number 7 is Never Lie by Frida McFadden. This, surprisingly, when I first read it, I was like, this book is like maybe a 4 star. It was good, but then I kept thinking about that plot twist at the end, and I was like, you know what? I actually really enjoyed it. The beginning did feel a little bit slow because not that much happened, but the plot twists in this book had me. I never saw them coming. I was like, I'm so smart. I figured this out. Like, I had this one theory when I was reading it. And then when, everything gets uncovered, I was like, oh, wow, I wasn't even on the right, path. And I was like so confident that I knew what was going to happen. And it just, great book, very fast paced. I read this in like a day. Great book. Number 6 is Deep End by Ali Hazelwood. This was Deep End is one of my favorites by her. I think this is on this list. I read 3 Ali Hazelwood books this year. That's kind of crazy, and was the favorite from all that I read this year. I really enjoyed it. The characters, like I always say in her books, are so relatable. I love a STEM setting. What made this one more relatable than the others is that the characters are in college. Their ages are closer to mine than anyone else's in Ali Hazelwood books. I mean, not in love and stuff, they're kind of a lot older. But Deep End has a special place in my heart because I just loved that book so much. I don't know what she put in it. She put something in this book. It's like drugs. Ali Hazelwood has powers, I swear. That book just is great. Number 5, we have The Swoven Kingdom by Tahira Mafi. That's the first book in the series. I loved it. I did not expect to be. I was bowled over by this book, by the series. One of the booktubers that I watched, Sarah Hafid, I'm so sorry if I'm saying her name wrong, but she raved about the series. And I was like, I'm such a big Tahira Mafi fan. I mean, I love the Shatami series. I should just give it a try. And I ended up falling in love with the series, and I'm so grateful that I read it because it was so amazing. It was just great. The writing, it was so magical, and everything about this I loved. I loved it so much. I cannot wait to read the 4th book when it comes out. You're gonna have to physically stop me from going to the bookstore and picking that book up because I cannot wait. Number 4, we have Madonna in a Fur Coat. This is a Turkish classic, and I loved this book. It really resonated with me. I just enjoyed it so much, and I think I've said this before, but for a classic, this book was very palatable, and I really enjoyed it. Number 3. Okay, we're in the top 3, guys. Top 3. Number 3 is Sunrise on the Reaping. When I think about this book, just thinking about this book is enough to bring me to tears because it was so nostalgic, right? I mean, I read The Hunger Games when I was younger, so this book brought all those feelings back. It's just the characters that you already love so much. You really get to know Hamish as a character, and it was such a heartbreaking book, and I just enjoyed it so much. I think Susanna Collins has a superpower to take a book that you think you're gonna know. You think, I know Hamish, I know what happened to Hamish. What more could she possibly tell me? And she spun it in such a way that the plotline was still so interesting, and just everything about this book, the themes she touched on, everything was just amazing. Number 2, this is kind of cheating, okay, because it's a reread, but The Ballad of Never After by Stephanie Garber. Let me just say, the reason why this book, I love it so much, one, I love the characters and the settings. The way this book ended, I don't think a book has ever had me like, I've read cliffhangers, I've read things like that, but the way this book ended, I was like, oh my god, like there is no way I just read what I read. Everything about that ending, those last like 20 pages was just, they were everything to me. I mean, I still think about it. The Ballad of Never After. If you haven't read the series, I really think you should read it. But now for our number 1 book. I think, okay, right now, when I did this ranking, this is how I'm feeling. Maybe in a couple days I'll change my mind. But as of how I'm feeling right now, my number 1 book is These Infinite Threads. This is the second book in the Swoven Kingdom series. This was my favorite book so far this year. Everything this year has been great. But this book just had this poetic writing, the banter between the characters, because, okay, this is kind of a spoiler, but a new character kind of he was introduced at the end of the first book, but we get to see a lot more of him in this book, and I so loved the banter between our main characters. Everything about this book was amazing. Everything, the way this book ended, just everything about it. As soon as I finished the first book, I was like, I have to get my hands on this, and I ended up reading this book the fastest from all 3. This was just, it was so good. I enjoyed it so much. But that is all 32 books that I read this year. I don't know if I'm gonna have much time to read much more this year, but 32 books, I think that's pretty good, you know. Yeah, 32 books, that's pretty good. I had so many good books. I mean, like half of these books would be like 4 stars and up. That is like such a good reading year for me, because normally I'm stuck in the 3 stars, and I'll read like 10 3-star books in a row, and it's just like, you know, you want something more. But these fantasy series have been saving me, and I'm so grateful for that. I can't wait to go back now and go finish reading Crown of Midnight. I'm so excited for that. I'm sure Throne of Glass, like when I'm doing my end of the year wrap-ups and stuff, I'm pretty sure it's gonna end up stealing all the best books and the best this, and I just know. But yeah, that is it for this week's video. Thank you so much for being here while I rank every book that I read this year. Hope you guys enjoyed this week's video, and I will see you guys soon.